and from code level to in the production level, how it can be worked out. So that I can explain in this demo.
Sure.
So, like, see about me. So, my name is Ajay Bongane. I'm the actually DevOps architect, and also I worked as an around 14 years of experience in IT industry. So this year we discussed like hands-on. I worked on like hands-on Azure DevOps CI/CD trainer for corporate and social batches, and focus on the real world and production grade delivery practices, not just menus and syntax like that. So completely working on the covers of boards and repos, pipeline, test plans. So these are the things will be covered in these sessions.
Okay.
And the live demo session. So like here it is. First, what exactly the session? Is the from code commit to the production. So entire enterprise CI/CD with the Azure DevOps.
Okay.
How exactly Azure DevOps? What is that? In this, like learners see how an organization can plan to work and manage the how to manage the source code and validate the changes, source deployment, secure deployment. So these are the things. It's around like 120 minutes of time duration to that one. Mostly we will complete immediate within the time only. No worries. So
120 minutes per day, huh?
sorry,
120 minutes, I did not understand.
the duration, recommended duration, because this demo duration.
Okay, fine.
This demo duration 120 minutes like that. So within the time only we'll complete it, no worries, but just give the just what exactly the Azure DevOps. Just I give the information only, not in depth on the each and every concept. Okay. So now here it is whoever join, let's say like the freshers also students will be join and developers, test engineers, everybody can join in that. You have to learn. And what are the prerequisite? You have to know the basic tech knowledge and basic understanding the software deployment and familiarity with the Azure helpful and but not the mandatory and Azure DevOps organization and Azure subscription for the deployment demonstration. Okay. So what we'll cover in this demo session, why Azure DevOps exists. Okay. So how Azure boards, repos, pipelines, test plans and artifacts work together, and how YAML-based CI/CD pipelines are operated. I'm getting resounding. I don't know exactly. So how Azure DevOps securely authenticates with Azure? Like, sorry. So then here is how applications move from development to the production and how approvals, testing, security scanning, rollback, so monitoring fit into the delivery. So what production grade Azure DevOps implementation look like? So these are the concepts we covered in this demo. Okay. So once complete this demo, we get some clarity on this. Mostly, how the delivery flow is there, right? See, here is the like there is the end workflow is like this only. So business requirement, based on the requirement, we are having a budget boards, and then developer creates a branch and Azure repos, pull request, and CI pipeline and CD pipeline. So then after that, we have to monitoring the all the things. Okay. So this is the entire delivery flow. So here, what exactly Azure DevOps will do? Azure DevOps currently provides the integrated services for work planning. What is the work planning? For that, we are using Azure boards and source control. So for source control, we are using the Azure repos because Azure DevOps dedicated the components. Okay, the components, how it is there.
వినిపిస్తుంది సార్ అమ్మ పెద్దదైందా
Mute on your side.
సో లెట్స్ స్టార్ట్ అవర్ ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్. మీరు అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేశారా? చేశాను సార్. పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఒకసారి నేను నా ల్యాప్టాప్ లో కూడా జాయిన్ అది క్లిక్ పెడతాను. ఓకే సార్.
Hello. Hello.
Lot of noise, Ajay.
Yeah. Who is there?
Perfect. Yeah, now I think we are good. So, yeah, sure.
Hello. Is a waiting stop. Hello? Sandhya? Hello? I will mute her. Okay, fine. I will share my screen again.
Sure.
Demonstration. Okay. Able to see my screen, right?
I can.
Fine. So now, open current slide. Yeah. Okay. So here it is. So this is exactly the delivery flow. So in this, Azure DevOps currently provides integrated services like for the work planning, for the Azure boards and source control. They're using to the Azure repos, the CI/CD, CI pipeline and CD pipeline will be there. So these are the some components is there. So the components are boards, repos, pipeline, test plans, and artifacts. This will discuss in the coming slides. So then here, what exactly I am planning to do? So time to time. So because what is I explain the why structured delivery is required. So Azure DevOps overview and architecture, boards and repos, CI pipeline, CD pipeline, security, troubleshooting, career roadmap, closing and the questions. This is the entire flow in this demo. So just example, imagine that 50 developers are working on the same banking application, and every day they change code, database scripts, infrastructure, APIs, and security settings. Okay. So without a control delivery platform, one developer may overwrite another developer's work. A tester may validate on the old build. Okay. So then in that case means because manually what is the approach? So this approach I will tell you in the this way. Okay, then you get a clarity what exactly. So before Azure DevOps, what exactly the flow? As a developer is there and he written the code in the zip format and send it to someone and he is testing operation team will testing into the then after that they can deploy into the production. That is the manual. This is the exact flow. Once every few weeks and rollback takes hours and no audit trails because if it is any rollback will be happen because if you are facing any issue in the from development to production, if you are facing any issues, it will take some time. So this is the before CI/CD pipeline we are facing this issue. Now after the Azure DevOps, first we have to look at the requirement. What is the work item? And we are creating to the feature branch and raise the PR and automated validation and approve the deployment because before production first we need an approval. We get an approval, then only we deploy our application to the production. So this is the sequence scenario will be happen. Okay. So here it is the traceable and automated and approved and monitored. Everything is done. So this is the complete even organizations. Whenever join in the any organization, they are follow these standards. So then problems without a delivery platform and the manufacturing. So like this, what are the problems in manual? See, I'm in the traditional way, what exactly the problems we are facing. So manually, if you release, so different teams use different source versions and deployment steps are undocumented, passwords are shared manually. So these are the issues we are facing. So then whenever go to the automated, right? So then Azure boards, they are the different in Azure DevOps, they have the different types of components will be there. Each component they can work their own task. Like Azure boards depends on what must be the manufacturer. And Azure repo store the design. So means the code can be stored into here. Azure pipeline builds and validates the product. Azure artifacts will store the upload packages. So then each component it can work their own task right now. Okay. So business problems how it can be solved. So Azure DevOps. Why learn the Azure DevOps actually? Why we are learning? Because Azure DevOps helps organizations replace disconnected delivery process with a traceable workflow. It connects business requirement, development, testing, security, infrastructure, deployment, operations, audit, everything will be there. Okay. So we can solve these all the problems we are using to the CI/CD pipeline. So then why learn? Because the speed and reliability. The teams automate repetitive build, test, and deployment steps. So everything is automated. No need to manual thing will be there. And business benefit, faster release cycles. The trade-off is poorly designed automation can quickly distribute the defects. So the real reliability like is a version controlled pipeline executes the same process consistently. Here we are using the version controlling because every deployment, every code we are pushing to that, right? So that time we can maintain to the branching strategy. So then reduce the human error. Because there is if you are facing in automated way, if you push the code or anything, if you are facing any issue, immediately we can get. There is no long time wait for that. And the pipelines require testing, maintenance, ownership, and maintenance. So everything pipeline itself, it can do all the things. It will testing itself and maintenance itself and also ownership and like the monitor. So this is the some with the help of the CI/CD pipeline we are able to do this. So what type of security is there? So there is the Azure DevOps supports these are the securities. One, Microsoft Entra-based user access or repository permissions, branch policies, pipeline permissions, protected environments, service connections, secrets and variable groups, approval checks, editability. These are all the securities. Because if it is a branch level, we are integrated to the branch policies, the pipeline level permissions. Like if you are the pipeline I am able to run and someone is also running. So then before my approval, they cannot run. So because branch level, because dev branch can merge to the master branch, then the production. So those are the secrets also we have to store into the not directly hard coded the secrets. The secrets are stored into the in the Azure DevOps itself. Okay, where the variable groups is there we can set up that one. And we need an approval because whenever raise the PR, we have an approval. So Azure deployments, Microsoft regulation, workload identification because remotes need to store long-lived client secrets into Azure because we are not using to the credentials stored into the hard-coded way. We are stored those values into the with the help of the workload entity. The scalability and cost optimization. So an organization can create reusable pipeline templates because one application I already set up one Azure DevOps setup completely. So then in the one of the project, but I created so client came into the another an organization, they can plan to the another project came into the picture. In that case, I have to use these templates to that another project also because that is a reusable pipeline templates because that is also Java based application. This is also Java based application. So then I use those template into the in another project also. So that is the scalability will be happening. And there is the standardized deployment patterns can be applied across the many teams because we have to follow the one standardized pattern because if I set up some pipeline setup, so that can be used into the everywhere and multiple teams can also use to that. Nothing to that much of changes. Then cost optimization, automation reduces the manual deployment effort and operation consistency. Organization must still manage parallel tab uses and agent. So these are all the in-depth discussion in the coming whenever move on to the sessions, right? That time I will discuss in detail what exactly it is. So here, so developer productivity and business result career value. Like actually, whenever you use this one, this is the developer productivity. So improve the developer productivity because complaints fail, test fails, or check fails. If any fails will be happen, so then it's immediately feedback given. So an organization can move from quarterly releases to controlled weekly because if we are using to the manually, right, then we are planning to that every quarterly, 3 months or for 6 months like that we deploy to the production. But if you are using to this type of scenario in CI/CD pipeline integration, then weekly we have to deploy also. Even daily also we can deploy that. So there is a and career value. So supports roles such as see if you learn this Azure DevOps, what you are planning to put in the resume. So you are using like Azure DevOps engineer, cloud engineer, build and release engineer. platform engineer, site reliability engineer, DevSecOps engineer. So these are the roles in the career in future. Once learn this concept, so once this technology, then we are eligible with this career. And high value professional are not paid merely in the writing YAML. They are value designing secure. Because see, if you the professional like our uh, our professional is very high. That means like DevOps or tech or something like that. We don't want to focus on the scripting and all the things. We are focused on the complete architecture, how it can be designed into that. So those things will be set up in there. See, so before modern DevOps platform, before, so what exactly it is? Requirement in the documentation, because some POC will be there like SRA, so means the some documentation. So the development team and manual build and separate testing team is there, operational ticket and manual deployment. This is completely the manual process. So what happened here? What are the common problems if you are using this? Long feedback cycles, environment differences, manual errors, and the limited traceability, slow recovery, inconsistent reviews. Okay. So for avoiding this, we are using to the modern delivery. This is the way. What exactly? This is the manual builds and build the scripts, continuous integration, delivery, infrastructure as a code, DevSecOps for security and platform engineering and AI assisted software development. So here, Azure DevOps about the Microsoft Team Foundation server, and even we are using the Azure server also, we can use it. This Azure DevOps is one of the services of the Azure. Okay, they can separately made into the Azure DevOps servers offering to that. And we can use different types of components in the Azure DevOps service itself. So we can work on to in the CI/CD pipeline setup. We can use these components like boards, repos, pipelines, and all. So what exactly the future direction? So likely high value areas. So not that. So means passwordless workload identities, because here we don't want required to the passwords, username and password. Directly we can use the workload identities. Then pipeline supply chain security, AI assisted planning. So these the end. If you want to integrate, deploy our application into the Kubernetes, not directly, we don't want to deploy into that. We are using to the with the help of GitOps integration. Some those configuration is required to that. Then our easy or work in the nowadays they are implemented like that. So the five. There are the 5 integrated services is there in the DevOps, Azure DevOps. So, so first is the boards. What exactly board will do is the work tracking. And repos, it is the source code and the PRs. And pipelines, we are using the CI/CD automation. The test plans will do the quality testing, and artifacts will do packages and the fields. So this is the entire Azure DevOps integration part. So these concepts, each and everything will discuss into the regular sessions. What exactly boards will do, how it can perform, and how repo will work on to that. Each concept will discuss into the regular sessions. So now I given some information about the each component. So Azure DevOps, what exactly, why we are using the Azure DevOps is used for epics, features like, do you know that Jira, how you can use to the Jira tickets? Do you aware of?
Yes, yes.
Similar way, Azure boards also doing like that. If they are in organization level, what they are trying to do, if you are assigning any task, so the task is created within the Jira, Atlas Jira, they are using into that. So they create the task. Then in the Scrum call, we are discussing about this task, how much perform is there, how much it's completed, and in the sprint planning, we are discussing. Accordingly, we are working into that. Our progress, everything is taken care by the manager, because just only the board will see what exactly where you are, what things you are working on, what things you are not doing. So what you are working on the task or you are working on the bug. So that what type of user story you are doing. So those how the perform Jira, similar way, Azure DevOps itself is doing like that. So no need to use the third party tool. We can use directly in the Azure boards itself. So here epics, features, Azure stories, these are all the like managing to the story setup. So this will discuss in depth and practically we created how it can be created and how the sprint planning, what is the common board, everything we'll discuss. And next to the Azure repos, Azure DevOps used for the private Git repository. So because normally everyone can use GitHub, see, because this is called as a version control system. It's like version control systems are lots of version control systems are available in the market, right? So there is the GitHub, GitLab, is and also Azure point of view we are using to the Azure repo, and AWS point of view we are using the AWS commit. So those are the different types of version control system is there. But according to our requirement, so if the client is asking my code is stored into the Azure repo, then we can go with this. So then the private Git repositories, branch management, pull request, code review, so branch files. What exactly each concept we'll discuss into the general sections. So majorly we are using Azure repo for these main concepts. And next here is the Azure pipelines and Azure test plan. What is the use for Azure pipelines? Azure pipelines are used for the continuous integration and delivery, because exactly as a DevOps engineer work is this only. Few of the organizations, because this slide Azure boards and Azure repos, few of the organizations are visible, because we don't want to require these things, because someone is created the ticket and someone is pushed the code. But our main work as a DevOps engineer, this is need to be enabled into that in the UI level, because our work is here only. We are able to write the code, we are able to set the CI/CD pipeline setup. So this is the CI, is the continuous integration and the delivery. So how to write the pipeline? There are the two different ways. Either we are using to the classic editor, either we are using to the YAML script. So which we have to focus on, accordingly we can deploy to that. So there are the different ways. So building, installation, what exactly the task, based on the task. Because if generally one Python application is there, that application need to be containerized, and after that can be scanning, after that can be moved on to the deployment. So this is the my sequential scenario. In this scenario, everything is set up into the pipeline itself. So for that, how I can integrate it. So those things will be with the help of the YAML, or either we are using the drag and drop using the classic editor. And test plans, that's for see. Manually, what exactly happened when the person I developed some application, that application jar or WAF and send it to the tester will check and it is very good, then move on to the next task kind of. Until and unless we cannot do anything. So, but here it is test plan will do all the test, what exactly, which test you are planning to do that. So accordingly, we can help. So it supports to the manual testing, exponential testing, UAT or integration. So finally, Azure artifacts. There are the 5 components. One is the board, another is that repo, third one is the pipeline, fourth one is the test plans, and fifth one is the Azure artifacts. So this is the packages. So NuGet package is the .NET for NPM package, Python package, Maven. So this is a Java and this is a Python, this is the Node.js, and this is a Cargo package, universal, different types of packages. These actually Azure packages what will do, this supports to the multiple package types and provides centralized feeds and managing internal and external dependencies. Because if any dependencies is required when we are trying to set up the CI/CD pipeline, those are deployed into the Azure artifacts. Okay. So now I will show the complete architecture, how it is worked out. So because business team based on the requirement, so have one requirement, the client given to the requirement. Based on the requirement, I implemented my work. So there in that case, I can create the task, I can create the stories. So those are all can do with the help of the Azure boards. And developer, what exactly do? Developer based on this task, he can work on to that. And we create some branch, which branch is working on, that branch he created and push into the Azure repo. Azure repo is like a version control system. The code can be stored into here. It's like a GitHub. Then PR raised and code review and the branch policy. See, whenever raise the PR, then here we need the review of the code. So because I am developing one application, the Python application, the name is like hello world something. So someone is sorry, someone is review the code and then only move on to the merge to the next branch. So that is the will be applied. And next branch policies. So what type of branch policies? Because restricted. Because if I'm not maintained to the branching policies, someone deleted the code or someone deleted something will be applied. So that will be affected to the our production. So in that case, we are planning and triggering the pipelines. So then push the artifacts. Next is CD pipeline. So first we trigger. Here we completely test building and test it and security scans. After that, once is image is ready, then store into the container registry. Then we can deploy into that. So deploy, there are the different types of environments we have to maintain, dev, test, and production. So these environments are depends on the organization. It's not a standard names. Depends on the organization. Few organizations they can plan to the multiple environments. Dev, QA, pre-prod, prod like that. And the deployment is if the approval is okay, but where you can deploy your application. If it is a web application, this complete application is a web-based application that deployed to the services, or it is a container-based application deployed to the AKS, or image-based application deployed to the VM or any functional serverless applications. And once deployment is done, but where you can, if you are facing any issues in the production, how you can find out? So in that case, we are integrated to the monitoring tools. That Azure Monitor or any other third-party monitoring tools also we can use. So then incident will be happen, we get the feedback back to the Azure board. So what happened here? Where we can start, there we can head. So means because this process completely is the end-to-end setup. In this setup, if you are facing any bug, then create the bug ticket here. If you are facing any new story came into the picture because I implemented this dev test QA. If I want to prepare the QA, then we create the one user story here. The QA environment is also required. Then based on that, we can set up these other things. So this is the end-to-end enterprise architecture. So wherever you join or wherever you go, so this information, if you give to the interviewer, then they can easily identify, okay, this person is really genuinely working on the end-to-end setup. And in our sessions also, we are focused on this. So then this is the organization and product. So this will discuss into the regular sessions because every component, because whenever we open to the Azure DevOps, first we need an organization, which project you are working on to that, and what repository, which agent you have to choose. Because if you implemented anything, first we have an agent, because I want to show something like this presentation, anything, I need a laptop, right? So that is the agent. That is the virtual machine. Similar way, Azure DevOps also, they can provide, if I want to set up all the code and pipeline setup and all the things, I want to set up the somewhere. So for that, they are using to the self-hosted agent or Microsoft agents. Microsoft, it can maintain their own agents. Agents means the virtual machine, like Ubuntu virtual machine or Windows or whatever. If you want to use that one, and use it, or otherwise self-hosted agent, because you are have an own virtual machine, that also you can use it. Okay, and the service connection, because I am working under the GitHub repo. I'm working under the repo, right? So my code is somewhere, and I can connect with this one. So there is a communication is required. For that, we are integrated the service. See, my image is available into the Docker Hub or any third-party tool. So that service is required here, because there only I can store to them. So which service we are connecting? What is the deployment target? So what exactly the control identity? See, control identity configuration for the pipeline to connect. If you want to connect the Azure, then those service connection, this service connection is required to the Azure DevOps. If you want to connect the Kubernetes, the service connection is required to the Azure DevOps, because if I don't know your details, I am not able to log in. So that's why those service connection details are required when you are connected to the particular services. So then environment, what type of environments we are using, that depends on. And artifacts. Artifact is completely packaging like zip file or jar file we have to store into that. So there is an immutable output created by the build process. Whenever you're creating the build, right, that time it can be created and that can be stored into the artifacts. So then exactly demo architecture, like developer is there and Azure repos and YAML pipeline. So there are the different ways to you can create this CI/CD pipeline. There are the either you are using the YAML pipeline or like so then restore, build, test, and publish. So then pipeline at 50, Azure App Service, health validation. This is the completely this setup is like a practical orientation setup. Because whenever you do the practical, right, then you get a clarity what exactly this diagram I have. So then the business requirement like prerequisite repo layout. So these are all some practical things. What exactly, whenever you move on to the practical orientation, that time we'll discuss what exactly code, what will be triggered, and how it can be restored. So those are the concepts. This is the organization. So what are the prerequisites required? Once we have to set up this Azure DevOps CI/CD pipeline integration, first we have need a organization, and then we can create the project. Subscription is required, and resource manager, service connection. So those are the things that we'll discuss into the sessions. I will show one sample example, like how the YAML file will do. So these are the triggers, and this is the PR. So which branch you have to raise the PR, and these are the variables. These are all the stages. Stages means different stages we have to do, right? Build, test, and deployment. So build, and there is a job. In build, what you are trying to do? I am trying to do the run the unit test like that. So what exactly your work? Accordingly, you can mention this job. This is the multi-stage deployment stage. Okay, so previous one is like build stage. This is the deployment stage. How to write down? So deploy to the production. And here I am using to the once build is succeed, then only move on to the deployment. Because build is not succeed, we cannot move to the deployment. So for that, I mentioned the attribute is depends on deploy dev. Depends on deploy dev. So what is the stage name? Deploy dev. So I mentioned the deploy dev. So once this is success, because build is success, then only you can deploy your application. If this build is not success, we cannot deploy our application. So that's why I maintain like this. This is the YAML script itself. We have to return like this only because organization is working different ways to return the YAML scripts. There is not a standard thing. They can follow the different ways to and do that one according to their requirement. What exactly their requirement? According to that, they can plan. So then YAML concepts, I will explain into that. So there is a trigger is there. What is the PR? What is the stage job? And what's the control deployment conditions? These are the things we'll discuss into the regular sessions. What exactly each and every concept will do. What is the output we are getting? What is the build is success and build application succeed? So these are the constraints. In the output we have to check build success or not. See where you can see your output. The output can be seen into the in your console. Whenever you're executing that pipeline, it will be shown to them. And validation checklist, the pipeline is starts or pull request, everything. Because these are the names of the stages. Because first time start the application and then I can push that one and next build it and next scan it. After that, they can push into the artifact. So these are the steps. Those steps one by one we have to check. That is a checklist will be available in the console. So there is a common mistakes in the production benchmarks. There is the incorrect. So it is the incorrect YAML indentation because most of the cases YAML script written they can follow the some indentation format. Because if you not follow the indentation, then we are getting the issues. And wrong branch name. Someone is using some wrong branch name and missing the pipeline permissions. And service connection not authorized. So then environment approval not configured. Artifact name is mismatched. So some scenarios we are facing an issues in the production level. So what are the best practices? Build once, promote the same artifact and use the reusable templates. So pin important. So those all concepts we will discuss into the regular sessions. What exactly it is. And next thing, legacy versus recommended authentication. What exactly it is? Legacy means Azure pipeline, client ID, secret, Microsoft Enter ID, Azure subscription. This is the problem is the secret must be stored, rotated, and protected. So, but here is recommend approach. Azure pipeline is there. In this, we are using the federator ID token and Microsoft Enter ID, short-lived access token, Azure resources. So here is we are using the workload identity, no stored password or certificate. Here we don't want to store anything, any credentials for long life. Here we have stored the details. See, client ID, secret ID, we need to store. This is called a like service principle. Those details we cannot store. Here it is not. With the help of the token, we can use. And the security standards. So how about the personal access tokens? Because nowadays no one used to that PAT tokens federations, and we are using to the Entra authentication is supported, and do not store secrets into the YAML. Most of the cases, whatever the secrets are there, that we are not stored into the YAML script. We don't want to use into the hard coding. Okay, these are the some security standards I will discuss in the sessions line by line. So here's the real-time production scenarios. Just I worked on different types of organizations, right? What exactly the scenario will be happen? What type of issues we are facing? What is the root cause of that? So the pipeline succeed, app unavailable. So the problem is deployment shows success, but user get HTTP 503 error. So how we can do that? This is the root cause. Is there any startup failure or missing environment variable or wrong prop? The solution is check the deployment and start logs. What is the solution? So here, deployment success not equal to the application path that we are identified. So this is the production, this is wrong artifact. This is the one case. Okay, this is the another scenario. Service connection authentication fails. So how we can root causes? What is the solution for? This is a 400. This is also another type of scenario. How like self-hosted agent is on offline, but the person is deployed into that, but it's not able to deploy because it is in offline. When it is online, then only the server will work out. So pull request bypasses quality controls. So this will be direct pushes are not allowed to protect the branch. Because if I protect the branch, then we are not directly push the branch. So then issue YAML file and cannot find a file. Sometimes they are written, but the file is not detected. So that's cases that we see. So like avoid hard coding agent paths. So these are the predefined variables, use predefined variables. So line add pipeline. These are the some restrictions is there that we have to follow. So the questions like why should we build the application only once? Because every environment should receive the same tested artifact and rebuild can create different benefit. So why is a YAML pipeline better than configuration everything manually through UI? So because in pipeline, we are in the Azure DevOps, there are the two ways. One is for a classic editor, one is for the YAML. So YAML provides version control, code review, repeatability, editability, and reuse. Most of the cases, out of the 99% people are using the YAML. And the questions will be also YAML related questions. So does a successful deployment mean application is working? No. So because my deployment is done, but application is not working. So then that is not a success. So we must validate the health endpoints, logs, and all of things. Okay. So this is the one more few of the questions. And I also comparison with the other tools like Azure DevOps. If you want to learn the Azure DevOps, so there the GitHub Actions is the one of the CI/CD pipeline, and Jenkins also there. This is the CI/CD and GitLab. This is also one more CI/CD. So now, if you learn this Azure DevOps, then compared to other CI/CD pipelines, so then in your resume you have to mention this also is okay, because if you learn, you focus on this only, then it can be. If you are not implemented this other CI/CD pipeline, that's not a problem, because if you know this thing, this is enough to mostly similar things will be happening into that. But in the coding part, is that according to the tool, it can be different. So working plan is a strong pro codes and GitHub issues, required plans, GitHub Azure repos. Here we are using the GitHub repos. Here is a CM. There are the built-in repositories. Here you are using to the Azure platform. If here CI/CD Azure pipeline, here is the GitHub Actions. Here highly customized and GitLab CI/CD. It's a GitLab and GitHub. It can have their own CI/CD pipeline is there. In Azure itself, their own CI/CD pipeline, that is the Azure DevOps. Okay. So then also we can use some support of it can be there. What is the best fit, where it can be fit. I just given the some example. Then when you choose Azure DevOps or not. So Azure DevOps is a strong choice then when it can be required. Organizations already use the Microsoft Azure. Teams need integrated boards, repos. Then in that case, and enterprise approval editing are important. And existing teams already use Azure repos or classic pipelines. And strong Microsoft Entra and Azure integration is required. So in this case, we are using to the Azure DevOps because everything is set up Azure itself only. That's why we focus on to the Azure DevOps services. And I discussed another platforms also, the GitHub Actions, Jenkins, GitLab, that we can use. It depends on the requirement because organizations, they cannot plan only the single CI/CD pipeline. That totally depends on the organization. The organization, they can change different types of CI/CD pipelines. So now integration ecosystem, Azure boards is there is the like here we are using to the repos Azure pipeline, which without code we cannot set up the CI/CD pipeline. So then in that case, and there I can use the validation. Either we are using the infrastructure as a code you have to use, or like where you can deploy and Grafana, submit and tools. Okay, this is the stuff. And what are the key integrations like Git, Terraform? So it depends on the requirement. We have to use these tools. That depends on because where you can deploy your application, what monitoring tools you are using, what type of secrets you are using, how you can deploy that application. That depends on if you want to use that any AI tools or anything. So then automated everything to that. So then you can use the OpenAI, Azure OpenAI also there, or agentic AI. So I want to run these all the things in the every agent separately. In that case, we can use the agentic AI because multiple agents we can run. Each agent they can run anything separately. So beginners mistakes and fixes like one large pipeline for everything. So then difficult to maintain. But professionals use templates the manual changes. Then secrets inside the YAML because beginners who were working under the very beginner, right? So that they are what they are planning to do. The secrets are stored in the YAML. So that is not a good way. But actually, so what is the production risk? The credentials are exposed because if you are using to the secrets into the YAML script, then when you run exposed to the outside, so there is a problem. Then you can use keyword or protected variables. Instead of the variables, you can use the secrets. Direct push to main. So that is the beginner mistake because direct push to the main it's not working. So unreviewed changes because if I am working on the dev branch, directly push to the main branch, there is no reviewing is there. But enforce branch policies required. Branch policy, if you attach the branch policy, that will be protect the branch. Then we have to approve then only and review, then only move on to the main branch. And unless it cannot. So that is there is no time limits. These are the some mistakes will be there. So we are how to overcome these other things that we'll discuss into the practical scenarios. Okay, these are the some latest and content attack using latest because no need to use every time latest because latest means that is some time it will be changes. So then